BT, if you had to cook the best meal, like to be judged upon, what would you make? Your signature dish.
I think it would be my rotisserie chicken with sweet potatoes.
Do you have a rotisserie?
I don't do it that way now. I do it in the oven. And it's really plain and simple with salt and pepper, but avocado oil and olive oil that I
Wait, so
baste it with.
how is that not a baked chicken? Why is that a rotisserie chicken? Doesn't have to rotate to be a rotisserie chicken?
Well, it does not the way I do it. And I cook it in my Le Creuset.
That'd be that's like me saying my signature dish BT is spaghetti and I make it with steak and potatoes and no noodles and pasta sauce.
For you, that would be a signature.
Welcome to the Times Lakers show. I am Dan Woike. He is Brad Turner. We are still standing. We're here. Before we get started, I just want to say we covered Lakers Clippers last night. It was weird not having our colleague Andrew Greif there, our friend. So really good thoughts for him and all of our other coworkers.
Yes,
impacted
absolutely.
by an awful week at the LA Times. Viewers, you can do your part. Subscribe to not just this, but subscribe to the paper. It's $1 for 6 months online. You'll miss us when we're gone.
And then I have to say, shout out to my guy Andrew Greif, talented writer, great person, great family man.
Way too classy too.
And I wish him nothing but the best. As I told him this morning when he and I spoke, I just hope that things work out for him. But because of his talents, I'm sure it will.
I'm with you on that. He is I spoke to a bunch of people last night within the Clipper organization.
Yes.
Who had a lot of respect for Andrew. One of the things they said about him was that he covered the team for 6 years. He was never wrong.
Yes.
And that's that.
And then on top of that, when he and I spoke today, he told me that Clippers coach Tyronn Lue called him. And it reminded me when Ty did his pregame. He did his pregame with the media, and he walked out, and he goes, "Damn." I said, "What's wrong, Ty?" He goes, "I wanted to say something publicly about Andrew, and I didn't do it, and I wish I had." And that told me a lot about someone who I've known since he was a rookie in the NBA, that he's still that good person that I've always known. So kudos
well, you've
to
known
Ty
both those
Lue.
guys since they were rookies in the NBA too.
Yeah,
And just like Ty, I think Andrew will be back. But anyways, I wanted to say that. Anyways, on with the show. Lakers Clippers was last night. I think it was closer than I expected in some ways, but
yes.
I know I sat here last week and I gave you my theories for why I was concerned about a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Was that last week or was that 2 weeks ago? Who can tell? I can tell you, with a win to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They beat the win, but I saw some things I didn't like. Look, no LeBron last night, but if the Clippers are where the Lakers need to go, like that to be that caliber of a team, man, they've got some work to do. BT, my new latest NBA theory that I would like to present to you right now.
Okay.
Is that your defense just doesn't really matter that much anymore. Like, you've got to score. There is too much talent. You've got to get buckets. Regular season, look, it'll slow down in the postseason, but man, you still got to be able to get buckets in a way that I'm not sure the Lakers can. BT, tell me I'm wrong. Defense wins championships, I thought.
You're wrong. And this is why you're wrong, because at some point during the course of a game, you have to get stops. You can't rely on the opponent missing shots. You have to affect those shots. And there were a moment. Here's an example. The Clippers scored 77 points in the first half, correct?
Yep.
And they scored 50 in the second half. The Lakers had an effect on them with their defense pressure and the way they forced the Clippers into taking more difficult shots, of which they made. They still shot over 50% from three-point range, over 50 from the field, but they made it more difficult for them because the defensive principles were a lot better. So you have to get stopped at some point. For 48 minutes, you hear that, we got to play great for 48 minutes. There has not been one team in the history of the NBA that has played great for all 48 minutes. But there's a moment, a key moment, where you have to do that, And to win a championship, that has to be done.
I think I agree with you largely. I think my point is sort of, the Lakers are a team that is constructed to get stops. Yes. This is how they're built, right? Like they play, I would say, below average offensive players in most of their lineups because in an effort to get defenders out there, right? Jared Vanderbilt, Cam Reddish, and they're very good defenders. Those types of guys, they are a bottom third offensive team. They are a top half defensive team. Like, I think the version of them when they played better basketball earlier this year around the in-season tournament, they were a top 10 defensive team. Now, look, they might just be boned. Totally, right? Like, it might not matter offense, defense, whatever. Like, they may just not be good enough.
And then I will say this. When Cam Reddish shoots the ball, when Jared Vanderbilt shoots the ball, I cringe. I keep wondering, is that pull rim going to survive that shot? Because it is going to clank off that backboard, and the chances of it going in are the chances of you winning a cooking contest. Nil. Not going to happen very often.
Cam Reddish's jump shot won best aroma.
I'm just saying. And sometimes they go win, sometimes they don't.
Sure.
But I do cringe.
There are ways that those guys can contribute offensively through cutting, through energy, through rebounding. We saw Jared Vanderbilt on the offensive glass in this game. Cam Reddish has made some spot-up shots. He's made some big spot-up shots this season, actually, but he's missed a lot too. I think I want to dig into this because this has been the thing that I've been talking about with people around the league, and it does pertain to the Lakers as they move to this trade deadline. Kind of just sort of about the types of teams you should try and build now, and if we've seen a big shift. So, Dan Woike, Brad Turner on YouTube from the LA Times. Subscribe, not just here. Take $1 out of your wallet, all right? We'll be right back with more Times Lakers show. And we are back, still here, BT, both of us.
Yes, we are. You and I. Still standing for right now.
I'm still standing better than I
Oh, boy, that's going to get us fired.
Well, if it wasn't that, it'd be something else. Yeah, I'm sure. All right, so we were talking about the Laker offense, right? And kind of, and sort of the overall trends. And the reason this hit me was, and I try to get into this a little bit in my game story, but it's and I asked Darvin about this post game, and I don't really think he took the bait. But Joel Embiid scored 70 earlier this week. Karl Anthony Towns, I know they lost, but Karl Anthony Towns had over 60.
Hey, can I say this, Dan? Can I say this about that? That's nothing. I was there when Kobe Bryant scored 81, 70.
Okay.
Please, when you get 81, come talk to me.
And the Embiid game, Embiid could have had 81 in that game.
How about this?
He really could have. He really
Better yet, to Joel Embiid and to Karl Anthony Towns, when you win one NBA championship, holla at your boy.
By the way, fun fact that
I'm just saying
that all happened on the anniversary of Kobe's 81-point game. Those two outputs, which is pretty cool.
Yes, it did.
New Orleans scored 155 points last night. Offensive ratings are trending to be the highest that they've ever been in the league.
That is true.
The rules are such. You hear players talk about this all the time. The rules are such where it is very difficult to defend. Talk to anyone who's tried to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they will tell you about the space that he creates with his physicality. That's right. That is future potential MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as predicted here on the Times Lakers show, when you accuse me of being high on drugs.
Well, you are, but the future means that anyone could win the NBA MVP award. So, okay.
It's certainly possible.
The future also means that Joel Embiid could win the MVP award for the second straight year. That is the future. Tomorrow is the future.
We should do.
Sunday is the future, Dan.
Next week, we're getting you on the record. We're going to do predictions next week. I will come up with a list of topics. You have to predict all of them. But I think my general point is that the Lakers are a team that is going to be better defensively than they are offensively. I do think that plays better in the playoffs than it does in the regular season. I mean, I guess I sort of have two questions about their roster construction as they head into this trade deadline. One, are they even good enough defensively to be a defensive team? I'm not sure. The numbers would say no. We've seen them at times be really, really good. And then I think the second question I have is just sort of like, all right, like, yeah, so that plays better in the regular season, but if you're the 8 seed, or if you have to go through the play-in tournament again, by the way, and guess what? Golden State might be there. You know what I mean? Like, that's a team that could be waiting for you in that mix. But if you have to go through that grouping again, like you did last year, like, do you really think that this team can win 2 rounds to get back to the Western Conference Finals playing defensive for, like, do they even have that sort of, do they have enough? I don't think they do as of today.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. It doesn't matter what you and I think.
Correct. Well, it matters what Rob Pelinka thinks.
The Lakers believe they can do that with this team.
As
is. It is not easy to make moves. I must remind fans of that. I've been told that over and over again. It takes 2 teams to make a deal.
Sometimes more.
Yes, exactly. So if you're willing to make a deal with, say, Atlanta, and said Atlanta says, okay, we're willing to talk to you about a deal, but here's what we want, and you're the Lakers, and you're saying, that's not how we want to do the deal. We want to do it a different way. So you move on to someone else.
Can I tell you who the play-in teams are as of, like, this second?
Okay. Yes.
Sacramento Kings. The Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
The Lakers and the Utah Jazz. That's no Rockets. That's no Warriors. Okay? So, like, those are those 4 teams. I mean, the Lakers, I feel like, haven't beaten the Kings in, like, years with this sort of, like, Sabonis, Fox.
They haven't beaten the Kings this season?
Did they beat them this year? I don't even remember.
I believe they have. I believe every team you mentioned, they beat them, right?
Dallas. They beat Utah in the in-season tournament at home. Okay, so then you get through that, and you play the Thunder in the playoffs. I guess you've beaten them twice.
So there you go.
Okay.
Well, by doing what? By playing defense.
Congratulations. Then you get the winner of Denver Clippers in the second round. Whoever wins that.
And by the way, they haven't beat the Nuggets, but have they beat the Clippers twice?
So you believe? So I watched that last night.
I'm not saying that.
I don't think they could beat them in a playoff series.
I am not guaranteeing that at all. But are you saying there's a chance? I'm saying there's a chance.
Okay, so I think heading into this deadline, like, I think so standing pat, and I don't think standing pat means totally doing nothing, right? Standing pat may, I've heard, in the last month, like, really actually since December, like, the Lakers kicking the tires on, like, backup centers.
Yes.
Right? Because, like, in an effort, because, if they do have to play Denver, they'd like a little more heft.
Give me a name of a backup center, Dan. And the
Andre Drummond.
Okay.
Andre Drummond.
Give me
We'll see him tomorrow.
Give me another backup center, Dan.
Nick Richards on Charlotte.
Okay, give me one more.
I mean, I don't think he's a backup, but, like, he's a low-end starter, Daniel Gafford.
Who does he play for?
The Washington Wizards.
Look at you, Dan. You're all over this, Dan Woike.
I mean, I would say, of those 3 names, I've heard 2 of them. I like Nick Richards. I just threw that out there. That's a guy I think is a good player. But, like, the so you kick the margins on that type of guy. Does that constitute doing something? I mean, technically it does. I guess for me, it's sort of the question will be is do they put what their best asset is? I want to do 2 things. What their best asset is, which is that 29 unprotected pick, totally into play, right? Like, I heard it was in play. I heard that that's something that they talked to Atlanta about.
Right.
And the Hawks kind of said we're interested, and then they came back and said we're not interested. We'll see what happens there. It seems like a lot of posturing right now. But I think other than the DeJounte Murray trade, I don't really see currently a deal that, like, screams to me trade that first round pick.
I would agree.
Which does sort of mean, like, you're kind of rolling with this group in some ways. Like, maybe it's one player in a couple seconds and you get a little bit better. Maybe you find more of a specialist in, like, in terms of a shooter. Maybe you're on the buyout market a little bit more, but you're not going to change your team materially that way. So I will ask again, Broderick Turner.
Yes, sir.
The way this team is built, and that is one that is to play defense and first and get to the playoffs, and maybe are they good enough offensively to get to the playoffs? We have 40 more games to go, basically. A little less. What, 37? 37.
My answer is yes. They are.
All right.
I
defer to you.
I think because they have shown that they can be a really good defensive team, and what Darvin Ham has done at times is found ways to mix and match his defensive players along with his offensive players. And as you said, we know Cam Reddish is not a great outside shooter. Neither is Jared Vanderbilt, who at times will get his offensive rebounds and get his shot blocked.
And to be fair, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, not great defensive players.
Right, no, they're not.
In terms of balance.
But the idea, as you said earlier, of there are ways that Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt can score more effectively by cutting, moving. In the case of Jared Vanderbilt, giving the Lakers extra possession like he did against the Clippers with those 6 offensive rebounds, those things matter.
Yeah, he had good energy again, and I think he does matter to them. He does matter to them in a way that I maybe underestimated. I think, and then we're gonna wrap up here in a second. But I think, like, to me, the one thing is we mentioned Cam Reddish, and I just look at that player, and I see a young kid who has tried very hard to be sort of the defensive player the Lakers want him to be. And BT, man, he's beat up. He's hurt. He gets hurt a lot.
He got hurt again last night.
And it is hard and physical to defend at a high level the way the Lakers need to win. I know. It is hard to do that every night in the NBA, which is why it'd be nice if you just put the ball in the basket a little bit more. Took some of that physical pressure off. And that's when I wonder if, like, can they do this? The 25 times that they need to do it between now and the end of the season to move up in the standings, to not be in, this play-in thing.
It's a great question.
Prolific play-in team. The Lakers, the greatest play-in team ever. 2-0. Undefeated in play-in history.
So there you go.
The in-season tournament they are the most adaptable team I've ever seen. Speaking of adaptable, we're going to figure it out at the LA Times, BT. You and I are going to be with the Lakers on the Grammy trip. You are going to start it. Well, I'm going to start it. I will tag you in, and then you will tag me in.
Yes,
I will. And then we will be back next week with more. Like, subscribe, comment, email me, email BT. Let us know your questions as we get to the trade deadline. And I don't know, maybe we should do. I'll have to talk to producer Mark. Maybe we should do a trade deadline special.
Hold on, Dan. When is the trade deadline?
February 9th?
8th?
6th?
8th?
The 8th?
Come on, Dan.
I don't know, man.
Let our fans know. February 8th, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, I don't even know what day of the week it is, BT.
I know. It's
okay. So, anyways, I'm going to go get my wits about me. We will be back next week, someday, sometime, with some things to say. Until then, thank you. Read the Times, and we will talk to you soon. Andrew, we miss you.